Morning, everybody. Welcome. My name is Eric Golden, as many of you know. I am your one of the EXP Freedom Team leaders. Excited about being able to help you today. We do this every week on Monday at 11 a.m. And again, super excited to have each and every one of you here. Always nicer if it's more interactive. Always nicer if you're able to interact with me. This is not your normal class. As you watch for the first time, we want to welcome you here, but I am a different cat when it comes to the way I train and teach. I'm going to recommend you just sort of roll with me, sort of feel it out as we go through. It's very informal, but you're going to come away with more information this way than I think you would in any other type of content. I speak specifically directly at things to people on things they need help with. I'm often answering questions in a very matter-of-fact, straightforward manner. I don't generally go around the bush unless I tell you I'm going around the bush. Generally, I do that when I'm lighting the bush up and I don't want to go anywhere near it. So again, be aware that we're going to be pretty straightforward when we train you on Monday. We also have a training on Thursday for agent attraction. Here's the difference. For those of us that are actually wanting to attract agents, that's a Monday, every Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 o'clock Central. For those of us that are actually recruiting, attracting, doing the work, Thursday is an added benefit. So everybody comes to Monday, and we hope you will additionally, once you start actually working to attract agents, we want you to come back on Thursday, same time. That is a much more Q&A oriented session, although we will do some Q&A as well. Thanks, Kate. You've always been helpful with the comments. I do appreciate the fact that the messaging is helpful, and I'm hopeful that the information will be helpful as well. Mr. Jordan, how are you today? Gary, if you're there, are you looking at me? You're looking at me. Are you listening to me? Doesn't look like it. Sterling, you there for me?
Yeah, I'm here. How you doing, Eric?
Good, buddy. Tell me one of the two things you've picked up from me over the last couple of weeks. What are the one or two things, the things I say, the things I do that have been helpful for you?
A lot of things. Two of the most important things. I like what you said that one time. It was in that one meeting that I missed. I had to catch the recording of it. It was your two good golden nuggets. I don't really want to give them away for anyone who hasn't seen that video because I'd like to encourage them to go see it. But those will be my two big things, I think.
Now, is that the one from the original January 2nd launch?
Yeah. That one.
Okay. So let me pause with that. Thank you for that. January 2nd, I did a launch your agent attraction. It includes mindset and strategy. We're going to put it in the chat box so you can link to it. I want you to be aware that it is also in the Freedom Team feed in Workplace. You are all part of the Freedom Team, so you need, if you're not already going to Freedom Team in Workplace, I highly recommend you do. But what I did in that one training, and it is the best training for you to start your agent attraction with, is I talked about the thoughts you need to have in order to successfully negotiate this long term. And then we talked about strategy-wise, how to not think about it long term, just what do I need to do today? I simplified it, as Sterling would say, I simplified it to make it biteable, because that's how you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. And and let me jump with this statement as well. If you have a question for me, put it in the chat box unless you're driving. If you're driving, then we want to hear from you. Just come off the microphone and come on microphone. And when there's a quiet spot, or when I ask for questions, which I will do, just ask your question. I want this to be as interactive as you want this to be. And if you have a specific situation that you want to talk through, I have no problem covering that as well, but wait for a little while to bring that up unless we're talking about something that opens up that specific topic. So that's enough rules. Gina, can you wave at me? That way I know got your attention. How are you? You want to open your microphone up if you can?
I'm doing fabulous. Thank you. This is my, I think, first or second time here, so I'm excited to be here. Just recently. Go ahead.
How long have you been with EXP?
Over 4 years, so just over 4. And I'm very production focused. So I icon 4 years in a row, but I'm beginning to realize that I'm not focused at all on the recruiting. I haven't done a thing in it, and I would love to dive in.
Okay, well, if you want to dive in, let me give everybody a lesson. Again, this will give you a real good indication of who I am. When I recommend something for you to do, you should just do it. Now, I'm not telling you to do it. I'm just saying you come to a class to learn how to do something that you've never done successfully before. And when I say successfully, I mean to the tune where it's actually an income stream. I mean, you might have recruited a person or two, but you've never really recruited a group of people who recruited a group of people. So the first thing I'm going to tell you, and it's not about my training, it's any training, but it's specifically about mine. If you're coming here to learn agent attraction, and I've been the one training this group for a couple of years, it's probably a good idea that you make an assumption that I know what I'm doing. Now, I'm not telling you I know what I'm doing. I'm just telling you it's probably a good idea that you make the assumption I know what I'm doing. And when I tell you that the single best thing you can do is listen to the January 2nd recording, then I highly recommend you take away from today's training anything you want, but you don't miss the elephant in the room. And the elephant is January 2nd's recording. Now, here's the problem with most people, and you're about to see my style right now. I'm going to harp on this January 2nd recording as if it's the most important thing ever done, because for you it is. Why do I say that? Because it will help you understand in 1 hour not only the way you probably would best think about agent attraction, but also the way you should start attacking agent attraction. And so I encapsulated it all in one 1 hour session. I don't care if you watch it right after this. I don't care if you watch it tonight. I don't care if you watch it sometime this week and you got the idea. I don't care if you watch it at all, but you should care. And so the golden nugget for all of you is watch January 2nd's session. Does anybody have a question or a problem figuring out where that is? Let me know now. Anybody? If so, again, ask away or put it in the chat box. I highly recommend you do that. Now, with that said, today was the day. On Mondays, I put out the tip of the day. I'm hopeful all of you do receive the email on a daily basis. The tip of the day today from me, it happens to be on Monday for me, was in a word, brain. In 2 words, it would be your brain. And so the follow-up to it is this. You have a brain. I highly recommend you use it. And when I say you use it for good. You ask yourself, does that make sense? Yep, then move ahead. When it comes to agent attraction, since you've never done it before, here's the qualifier. Does that make sense? Yes, then do it. So when I say there's a 1 hour training that will set you up to understand what we do here, you should say, does that make sense? Yeah, and do it. I'm going to say recruiting is much easier than you think it is. And you're supposed to say, does that make sense? And some of you are like, well, I don't know. I don't really know exactly what it entails. Ah, exactly. So I want you to ask the pivotal question, the qualifying question, every time you're in a training, especially this one, does it make sense? And if it doesn't make sense, I want you to call me out on it, because you're going to find out a month of Sundays from now that almost everything I tell you makes sense. And I'm not going to tell you that because I'm smart, although I may be. And I'm not trying to tell you that because I've recruited tens of thousands of people. Now, you're supposed to say, does that make sense that he's recruited tens of thousands of people? The answer is, that should not make sense to you. So I have to defend it. Let me defend it. For the last 40 years, I've been training people on how I recruit people, how I attract people. And I do it the exact same way I've been teaching here for the last year and a half, and the way I'll teach it over the next year. It's as basic as understanding the basics. Because if you understand the basics, then the 2 football games we watched yesterday as the conference championships are not in any way a bewilderment to you. You will understand why the 2 teams that won. Here's why. They were better yesterday. Both teams that won yesterday were better yesterday. And just so you know, if you pick up the phone and you call a prospect, and that prospect wants to look, and you show it to them, and they like what they see, and they onboard with you, you just had a good game. I'm going to remind you that the reason the teams won yesterday is they just executed what they were supposed to do. Both teams played great defense. One of them played great offense, and the other one played great offense with players that rarely get on the field because everyone got injured. But the 2 best teams won yesterday, and as of 49 minutes from now, you're going to be the best team. In the next 49 minutes, you're going to come off this training and you will say to yourself, I can recruit people. You're going to go from wondering what recruiting is to actually coming off the training going, I can do that. So I want you to get Golden Nugget number 2. If Golden Nugget number 1 is watch the 1-hour training, I guess Golden Nugget number 2 is ask the qualifying question, does it make sense? Then at the end of 50 minutes from now, Golden Nugget number 3 will be, the only way you'll actually do this successfully is if it makes sense and you think you can do it. Now I'm going to add a third one, another nugget. When you come off of this, you need to think it makes sense. You need to say, I can do it. Oh, and here's the last one. You need to also say, it's worth it. The result I get from it, from attracting agents, is worth it. So this morning I had 3 prospecting calls. So let me give you an idea of one of the ways I attract agents. Oh, by the way, I didn't finish on why I'm qualified to have sponsored tens of thousands. For 40 years, I've been recruiting in real estate for all 40 years, but I also have been out of real estate recruiting for 40 years. And I've done it all over the world. And I've done it in stadiums of 80,000 people, building groups of hundreds of thousands of followers. And I've done that by training them on the 2 concepts I've just talked about with you. Number 1, does it make sense? And number 2, can I do it? Now, what's interesting is everybody talks about the third one. Is it worth it? For the last 5 years, all that's been drilled into our brains is, what's your why? Oh, you have to have a why. Why would I do this? Why am I spending the hour with Eric today? This guy's crazy. What am I spending an hour? Why? Here's why. Because in 3 years, listening to what I'm telling you, in 4 years, listening to what I'm telling you, you'll have a 6-figure passive residual income as long as your agents stay with EXP. Because I'm going to show you, and I'll show it to you in just a minute, I'm going to show you that over the next 2 to 5 years, putting in 10 to 15 hours a week. In fact, if you do it right, initially you only put in about 5 hours a week. But eventually, you'll be putting in 10 to 15 hours a week total. Eventually. And you'll build a 6-figure walk away type income that you don't have to walk away to collect. You can still sell houses if you want to. But I just got off the phone with 2 people that sold 9 to 15 houses a year, and they did 3 to 4 million a year. which means, by the way, they made about 50 grand. And I said to them, how much money can you save if you're making 50, 60, 70 grand? They said, not much. I said, you either have to do one of two things. You have to double your production to save some money, or you need to attract some agents. I said, which one do you think is easier? And here's what they said. Both of them said this. Well, attracting agents would probably be easier, but I don't know how to do that, so I'm going to sell more houses. And I'm going to look at you and say this, you're not going to sell more houses if that's your reasoning. I can teach you how to sell more houses. I'll teach you how to do open houses, and I guarantee you your volume will go up. But I can also teach you how to attract agents and make $100,000 a year in the next couple, 3, 4, 5 years by just passively following what I'm going to train you in the next 45 minutes to do. Now, if you're the driver, right now you're like, I've been in here 15 minutes, he hasn't taught me anything. Well, let me tell you what I taught you. Number one, watch the 1-hour video that you haven't watched. Number two, ask yourself this question. Does it make sense? And number three, we'll drill down to the most important thing, which is the why question. Why would I do it? Here's why you should do it. Because nobody that I know that's sitting in this Zoom right now has retirement income that'll last you for the rest of your life. If you do, you don't need to attract agents. If you're looking for retirement income, the best way to do it is to attract younger people who are going to sell for longer periods of time. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Oh, that's a little nugget. So what else do you want to learn today? You want to learn, what do I say? You want to learn, who do I talk to? You want to learn, what do I show them? And you want to learn, I've got people that want to see it, but I can't get them in. These are the things we always want to learn. Who do I talk to? What do I say? What do I show them? And how do I get them in? That's what recruiting is. That's what we're going to train you how to do. We're going to train you how to make a list with people. We're going to train you how to invite them. We're going to train you to actually show them a presentation, whether you do it live or you use a recording. And then we're going to teach you how to answer the questions. Does that not sound like what you need? Huh? Here's a question. Does it make sense? He's going to teach me how to make a list. He's going to teach me what to say. He's going to teach me what to show them. And he's going to teach me exactly how to answer their questions so the right agents join us. Does that sound like the class you were looking for? I think the answer is yes. Let me pause now. It's been 18, 19 minutes. Woo! Gina, come back on microphone because I know yours works.
Hello.
How do you like me now? Talk to me. What have you learned so far?
I think the emphasis is do it. Just do it.
I will take that. Perfect.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
4 years later, why have you not been attracting agents?
Why have I not been attracting agents? A big part of it, I suppose, doesn't like rejection. And
Okay.
I feel I don't want to be salesy. And
Okay.
I was doing really well with the production, and the icon was the goal. Like my goal is iconing. So that keeps me going every year. Yep, going hard. And that's where I put all of my effort and time.
Yeah. And,
So,
and being an icon agent, have you saved all the money you need for retirement?
absolutely not.
Okay. Have you bought all the rentals? Oh, I'm going to retire on rentals. Oh, I love rentals. And you have none. It's just the way it works. Okay.
Yeah, I'm a very hardworking machine all the time.
Okay. So here's the deal. I'm going to show you, we're going to have a private conversation that everyone else can watch.
Mhm.
I'm going to show you the goal. Now, this is I say it's an artificial goal because you haven't gotten there yet, but we have. I want you to understand that what I'm about to show you is not on trial. It works. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to go to right here. Ta-da! Slideshow from So that's when you sponsor a capping agent, Gina. When you sponsor, if I sponsored you, I'd get $2,800 a year. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So if I sponsored 6 of you, I get $16,800 a year because you cap.
Mm-hmm.
First lesson, sponsor capping agents. Second lesson, how do I know if they capping? Look up their production online. If you don't know how to do that, put it in the chat box. We'll tell you how to do that. But here's what I want you to notice, Gina. If you did sponsor 6 capping agents, you'd be making $800 more than your cap. So EXP would be paying you $800 a year to be here.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the problems people has is, well, I can't talk to anybody that's at 100% transaction only company because they're already making 100%. No, now you're making more than 100%. By the way, Gina, here's what else I'll teach you. Everybody keep an eye on. If I haven't caught your attention yet, this is about to happen. If you did nothing more than over the next year or two, brought an agent every other month or every 4th month, and they were capping agents, and you offset your cap, but you help them bring their best friend, you'd be making $36,000 a year. I want you to see 6 who get 1 is $36,000 a year if everybody's capping. Just so you know, everybody, in Orlando, Tampa, there's an MLS called Stellar. And in Stellar MLS, there's 17,254 agents who cap. There's 1,000 agents a week coming to our company. There's 18,000 agents in Orlando, Tampa who cap. And you're like, I can't find one. I want you to hear, does that make sense that you can't find one? No, it doesn't make sense because you can. They're everywhere and they advertise. But understand this, Gina, if you just got the 6 agents you brought to offset their cap, you're now making $132,000 a year. This is the goal. It's the goal for everyone. Now you can modify it if you want, but Gina, if we woke up a year or 2 down the road and you were still an icon agent, icon number 5, icon number 6, but you had an extra $132,000 coming in, how would you like us then?
I love it.
How simple, I need everybody to understand, I deal in simplicity. Sometimes I go through complexity to get it. This is when everybody loses your attention span. Stop losing the span, come focused, come back to me. I just showed you the goal. The goal is for you to sponsor 6 capping agents you have between now and the rest of your life. You're going to help them bring their best friend. That way you're making $36,000 a year. And then you're going to help them offset their cap by bringing 6, and you're going to have a huge organization of only 6 agents who only have 6. You'll have 42 agents in your group, and you're making $132,000 a year. And you're like, that's too simple. Let me tell you why you won't do it. Everybody? Because it's too simple. Gina, when you sponsor Agnes, if Agnes doesn't cap, she doesn't count. You'll get paid on her, but for the goal we are focused on, it does not set your retirement up well. The only retirement is set up if you have agents who have agents. And the reason your retirement is more secure, Golden Nugget number 5 or 6 or 7. Here we go. The reason you have a secure income is not because you have agents. It's because you have agents who have agents, and they're not going anywhere. So we're going to start with the end in mind, because Juan Ruben Lopez wants the end in mind. Rachel Ivy wants the end in mind. Cindy Wingo wants the end in mind. And the end is this. If they're capping, they count. If they're capping and want to offset their cap, they really count. If they're capping and they don't want to attract agents, listen carefully, You have to learn how to do something that you haven't learned how to do. Get them to attract agents even if they don't want to. And you're like, oh my God, I don't know how to do that. Here's the answer. I'll teach you. And it starts with this, asking them a question. Forget about attracting agents. Don't worry about recruiting. Would you like to make enough money to offset your cap? They're going to say yes. Then you're going to say, then let's not worry about recruiting. Let me ask you a question. Make a list of 5 agents or 10 agents that you know that you think would like EXP if they knew how it worked. And just get them to make a list of 10 agents. And then the 2 of you figure out how to call that agent and ask, are they open-minded to want to know why 80,000 agents have moved to our company? By the way, that's part of the contacting line that you will learn from me. Because all I'm looking for is someone who's open-minded that wants to know why 80,000 people have already come. Pause. You're supposed to go, does that make sense? Does that make sense that you should be looking for someone that's open-minded that wants to know why 80,000 agents have come to EXP? The answer is yes. That's the best prospect. So let me row it up for you and I'll open it up for Q&A. The goal is 6 agents, you get 6. Everybody caps, 132,000 a year, somewhere in the next 2 to 5 years. How does it start? By listening and watching and learning from the 1-hour training January 2nd. And what am I going to be doing? I'm going to be learning how to make a list, inviting, showing them a program, and answering questions. And how am I going to learn all of this? I'm going to ask this question every time. Does it make sense? And if it makes sense, I'm just going to do it. Why? Because the word for the day is brain, and we should be using it. Peter, I know you're driving, and I don't want you to in any way become distracted. But as I went through this crazy scheme over the last 30 minutes, I was noticing your face was very animated. So do you have any comments? If you're able to hit the Zoom button or whatever.
Yeah, you know, I'm it takes a little while to penetrate my thick skull, and the light goes on at a certain point, right?
I'm assuming it's right. I'm hopeful it's gone on. That's why you keep coming back.
That's correct. You know, I don't need to give you accolades. You know yourself quite well. You're excellent. And so, yeah, you know, all of a sudden, it becomes feasible. It becomes simple. And then it's just get out of your own way and do the deal.
I appreciate the perspective. Let me clarify something. You said you don't want to give me accolades because I already know whatever. Let's go past that to the second part. Is what makes me effective because it ends up with what you said. It becomes possible. It becomes simple. Is that why?
Yeah, well, that's the first step. And is, you know, the sense of, oh, I can do this. I can do that, you know, and then you back it up with all the other support aspects, insights, etc.
Well, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. I know you're driving, so I appreciate you coming on. Anybody have
No, I'm pulled over.
Oh, anybody have another comment or question? Anybody? By the way, as realtors, especially ones learning attraction, this is when you can practice. This is when you can come on and go, Eric, and by the way, I don't need the accolades. I like them, don't need them. We all like feeling like we've affected someone in a positive way. But anytime you interact, you're training yourself. So you're in a Zoom, and when a speaker says, anybody have a comment or question, you should take that as an opportunity to practice. You should jump on and say, oh yeah, I really liked when you said this. Or Eric, I don't understand this. That one statement is taking you out of your comfort zone. And the more often, Golden Nugget number 7 or 8, the more often you go out of your comfort zone, the more often you'll go out of your comfort zone.
Hey,
One of
it's
my
Rachel. I've got a
favorite-
question.
Before you do that, Rachel, you're next. Before you go to that, I want everybody to hear this. One of my favorite things is when you wake up one morning in a good way and say, I don't even recognize myself anymore. It's normally followed up with, I used to hate making calls, now I look forward to them. I used to not know what to say, now I know what to say. By the way, generally those two things go together. Once you learn what to say, you all of a sudden become a little bit more comfortable making the call. So, Rachel, what were you going to say?
And sorry for my camera not being on. I can't have it on today, but I'm also in a sales job within real estate field. So I'm very comfortable with cold calling people that I don't know. I don't give a shit. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't care what their reaction is, how they come back at me. I am more uncomfortable, which is where I need to be more comfortable, talking to some of my close friends or acquaintances or close real estate agents that I've done deals with, whatever. That's where I struggle with making that initial contact with them. I don't want to go into them, and I've said this before in another call, how do I make it not feel like I'm selling it to them? That's where I struggle.
I'm going to give you an answer to that. First of all, great question. And if I ask for a show of hands, which is why I like everyone to be on video if you can be. I'm going to answer your question, Rachel, but I'm not going to miss this opportunity to train. If you come to this class, I don't care whether you are on camera or not, but it will make a difference to you. If you are on camera, two things happen. Number one, you pay attention more. Number two, you don't get as distracted. They combine for more content. In other words, you will learn more if you show up and pay attention. Now, with that said, I'm not criticizing you for not doing that. I don't know your situation. For some of you, you're driving and I don't want your camera on. For some of you, you're literally doing something else that you have to do, but you still want to get this in. So I'm thankful you're doing that. But if you are able to be on camera, even if you're not talking, I can see you because I look at everybody. Okay. So I'm watching what's going on. And I've been doing this long enough to see when people are confused or happy or frustrated in a lot of cases. So Rachel, to answer your question, and I'm going to hate myself for saying this. I'm going to hate myself for answering the question you asked. And here's why I'm going to hate myself. Because it's so flicking easy. I said flicking, just so you know. It is so flicking easy to answer the problem you have. But you got to go through the process. You got to listen to the answer. You got to then say, does it make sense? And then it'll go to the part of your brain that releases the pressure. Woo. This is one of those moments that you actually, if you're listening to what I'm about to say, can learn something that will shift not only agent attraction, not only cold calling or warm calling, but will completely shift your life. When you are asking a question, anytime, for any reason, but especially for agent attraction or recruiting, the only reason you should ever be calling them is to find out if they're open-minded to take a look at EXP. That's what you're calling for. The words you use previous and the reputation you have previous sets up how willing they are, how open-minded they are. You wanted real content? This is at the bottom of your soul, the best content I can give you. I want you to understand you're looking for the agent that is open-minded. You're looking for the agent that makes it easy. You're looking for the agent that's looking for you. So Rachel, when you're calling your friend, your reputation with your friend is already set. It's not going to change in a phone call unless you do something stupid. What it does do is change based on what you say. So I'll use a name everybody sort of knows, Brent Gove. When Brent Gove originally was calling people about EXP, he could say, hey, I want to show you a new platform that I think makes sense to me. And because of his reputation, he could get appointments with anybody. Then everybody found out he was with EXP. Then he would call friends that would normally have given him an appointment, but because they knew it was EXP, they said, oh, I don't want to see it. Now we get a 50-50. Now we got people that want to see it because it's EXP, and we got people that don't want to see it for EXP. The problem in your case, Rachel, is all of that's in your brain. Get it out of your brain. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach all of you a phrase that will and should, if it makes sense to you, it should alleviate the pressure that you feel. Here's the difference, Rachel, when you're calling your friend, by the way, come on microphone so you and I can talk for a minute. If you can.
Yeah, I'm here.
So first thing I'm going to say, when you call your friend, you want to get them in EXP. Is that correct?
Yeah, ultimately, yes.
Good. So as long as the word ultimately is put in there, let me say this. Do you expect you're going to put them in on the first phone call?
No.
Okay. Are they going to need to see a presentation before they get in?
Yes.
Are they going to need to agree to see a presentation before they get in?
Yes.
Which means all you're looking for on the phone call that you're making is for them to agree to look. Is that correct?
Correct.
That should also already lessen the pressure. I'm calling my friend just to see if they would be open-minded to look at EXP. So given that, right? Given that I'm trying to find out if they're open-minded to look at EXP, I'm going to think two things are the ingredients going into that recipe. Number one is my reputation with them. If my reputation with them is strong, I'm going to use that.
Mhm.
If my reputation is weak, I'm going to use that. Because there's only two pieces. Remember, originally, one of the things that Sterling talked about and Peter talked about was my ability to simplify. So let me simplify. You either think you have a good reputation with them or you don't have a good reputation with them. You're going to use it either way. The other thing is you're really trying to find out if they're open-minded, and you don't really know what to say to find out if they're open-minded in the best way. One way you could do it, Rachel, you call them up and say, hey, you know me, I'm in EXP, are you open-minded to look? Now that could work if they were fully open-minded, but I'm going to give you a script and I'm going to show you how to use your reputation. And that'll be the elevated training for today. Rachel, do your friends know you for the most part as a relatively successful realtor?
Yes.
Okay. So I would say, hey, by the way, how long have you been in the industry?
Since 15.
Okay. Hey, I've been in the industry for going on 10 years. I've seen some things. I think and I would say, I think you'd consider me to be a fairly decent agent, wouldn't you? Yes. Say, great.
And
Listen, let me tell you why I'm calling. I don't know if you know this or not, but I made a move a few months ago or a year ago, whatever it is, to EXP. I'm not asking you to change brokerages. I want you to hear how that sounds. Hey, Rachel, Eric Golden, look, you know, I've been doing this for 10, in my case, 40 years. I've been around the industry a long time. I think I know what I'm doing. I think you'd agree with that. What you may not know is about 4.5 years ago, I moved to EXP, and I'm not asking you to change brokerages. Let me tell you why I'm calling. Your volume is ideal for one of our programs. And I don't know if you know this, but we're exploding everywhere. Had about 80,000 agents come to us in the last 5 years. There's a reason, Rachel, why 1,000 agents a week are coming. I'm not the only one. And again, I'm not asking you to change brokerages. I just want to know one thing. Have you seen our 2023 presentation? Are you open-minded enough to want to know why 80,000 agents did something? That's the question. And here's the part. Rachel, I am happy with what I'm saying.
Mhm.
I'm not tied to the outcome. Here's why I'm not tied to the outcome. And here's the part for you that you haven't gotten through your head yet.
Right.
I was about to say thick skull, but I don't know you well enough. Here's what you haven't gotten through your head yet. Some of them will come. Some of them will not come. Isn't that true?
Mhm.
Do you actually believe you'll call every agent you know and none of them will look? Do you think none of them will look?
No.
Do you think
They will.
some of them will look?
Yeah, if Aileen Fountain hadn't got to him yet, so.
Oh, wait, hold on. I think making a call after Aileen made the call is better. Here's why. Because now they're hearing from you and Aileen.
Right.
See, everything you're thinking comes from a scarcity mindset.
I know.
By the way, I'm not picking on you. This is a
No,
Tony
no, no,
Robbins thing.
No, you're not hurting
Okay.
my feelings.
Well, no, I can hurt your feelings, and I'm trying to. I want you to know that the reason I'm hurting your feelings is because you're not thinking the way that a successful agent attraction would think.
Okay.
You're thinking the way most people think, which is why most people fail. I'm going to ask this question. I'm not going to ask why they fail, because we've all perfected that. I'm going to ask why they succeed. Let me tell you why they succeed. Because they make a list and they call the people. And they look for the ones that are open-minded to say yes. And they show the ones that want to see it, the presentation. And the ones that want to follow through, they follow through with. And the ones that don't ghost them, they see again and they sponsor. Because you're only looking for 6 capping agents between now and the rest of your life. You're not looking for 3,000 agents like Sean Sturrock. You're looking for 6 capping agents who say, you know what? I want to know why 80,000 agents. By the way, Rachel, how long have you been here?
I have been, this will be 4 years in June.
So you can use this as your story. Hey, you know, EXP began exploding and I wouldn't look. And then all of a sudden I looked and I ended up moving. We're still exploding and you haven't looked. I want you to look and you may not come. I'm okay with that. 80,000 agents have come with me over the last 4 years. There's a reason why they've come. I just want to show you why they've come. If you come, you come. If you don't, you don't. But a good agent would want to know why 80,000 agents do anything. Rachel, let me ask you a question. Would a smart real estate agent want to know why 80,000 agents do anything?
Yes.
Okay. So are we saying then if someone doesn't look that they're not smart?
Possibly, yeah.
Well, I would put 80% of them that don't look to be not smart. Let me tell you why 20% don't look, because they think they already know.
Yeah.
You're not going to win with the 20% to think they already know. I'm not going to prepare you for them because they're not open-minded. You're looking for people in the water. They see the ship, they start swimming your way. They don't see the EXP sign and swim the other way. You're not trying to get them. This is the biggest problem with everybody sitting here today. I promise you, your biggest problem is not time. Your biggest problem is not, I don't know what to say. Your biggest problem is, I don't know who to call. Your biggest problem is, I don't have a sponsor that'll help me. Your biggest problem is you're afraid that you're going to look foolish. And here's the answer. You will until you don't. How do you not look foolish? Here's the answer. It's real simple. You get in front of the audience with your guitar. You learned 3 chords. It's a peaceful, easy feeling. And you start playing them. And you sing the words. And you look up after 3 minutes because you've been afraid the whole time. And if there's anyone sitting in front of you, they like it. But if you practice it and practice it and practice it, over the course of a week, more people would be sitting in front of you. True or not true?
True.
Does that make sense, people? Of course it does. So here's the part you're missing. You may suck at the beginning. I'm not going to say we all suck at the beginning, because I don't know if we all suck at the beginning. Some of you, because of your reputation, Rachel, you may get people to say, I'll look at it. You could say, hey, I've known you for 5 years. I've been here for 4 and never called you on it. Here's why. Because I was afraid. But that doesn't start the conversation well. Here's what starts the conversation well. Hey, you probably know EXP is exploding everywhere. I'm not asking you to change brokerages. Your volume's ideal for one of our programs. You probably know that lots have come. You don't know 80,000 agents. I've been here 4 years and brought 80,000 agents with me. I just want to show you what they know. Your volume's ideal for one of the programs. If you haven't seen our 2023 presentation, let's just jump on a Zoom, knock it out, and be done with it. Everything I said came from the card that I just threw down. I can't find. Here it is. Right there. Where is it? freedomteamsupport.com under agent attraction scripts, or workplace Freedom Team feed. That's it. Do I have to say that exactly? Yes, until you don't.
That's easier to have a script for me. My last question, that this doesn't need to be answered now. I have a team, very successful team, that I would like to approach, but I don't know how to approach the team leader other than this way. And that may be a Thursday thing also.
No, well, you got it. I'd pick up the phone, I'd call the team leader and say, do you know the team leader well?
Yes, I do.
Hey, what is
Well, not
her, his,
super well, but I mean, we have a report.
what is their first name?
Kira.
Kira?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Kara, it's Rach. How's things? Good. Hey, you probably know this. I've been over at EXP now for 4 years. Here's what I didn't know. EXP's got some really special relationships with teams. They've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of the best teams in the country come over. I'm not asking you to come over. I just would love for you to talk to a team specialist to see what they can do for you. I mean, you might as well know there's 80,000 agents that come over. You might as well know what they can do for you. Would you be open-minded for a conversation? As long as you know I'm not expecting you to change brokerages. They're going to say, yeah, I'll talk to somebody. Say, great, here's what I want you to do. I'm going to send you the basic presentation so you have an understanding of what all agents do. And then we'll get you on specifically with someone that can talk teams. In your case, you can bring Aileen or Tim in and they can do the presentation and
Right.
talk teams at the same time. Does that help you?
It does.
Been here 4 years and just found out that we got some amazing things for team leaders. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to get you to, that's it. Indelible Commercial. I know that's not your name.
No, it's Courtney Wise.
Hello, Courtney White. Rachel, thanks for playing the game. I'm appreciative. Courtney, has this been helpful for you this morning?
This has been great. It's like I've been with EXP for a week. So I found this and came in with Sean Palmer and
Yeah.
Stephanie. So yeah, this has been great.
And you're in commercial, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, so
yes.
I would slightly change the script. First of all, I would use whatever Stephanie tells you to use, right? You know that. But the second thing I would do is I'd call any commercial person and say, hey, how'd you like to get to 100% after one transaction? They'll say, how do I do that? That's what EXP's program is designed to do. They
Okay.
allow commercial agents to get to literally get to 100% with one transaction. Now it has to be the right transaction, but
Right.
if it's a transaction where you pay in 20 grand, it's the right transaction. So that's the only
Absolutely.
modification. As you probably don't know, EXP launched a commercial company 2 years ago. We're now already in the top 10. There's a reason why everyone's coming. One of the reasons is agents in the commercial of EXP, they can actually cap and go to 100% after one transaction. Have you seen how to do that? They're going to say, no. What? How do you do that? Well, let me show you. And then get them on a commercial presentation.
Absolutely.
If they're, listen to me, you've been in commercial for how long?
2 years.
If a commercial agent doesn't want to know how a company went from brand new to top 10 and had a cap in one deal, they're not open-minded. right? It's people, if you learn the basics, and here's the basics, everything happens between now and freedom. You're only looking for them to be open-minded. Everything difficult comes from their closed-mindedness. When you're on the phone, if they're making it harder on you, it's because they're closed-minded. So how do you stop them from asking questions? You say, hey, you said you were open-minded. Let's just get you in front of the information. Here's another thing to say. Presentation isn't going to take but 15, 20, 30 minutes. We could spend 20 minutes answering questions and you're still not going to understand it. Let's just get you in front of the presentation. Here's another answer, my favorite. Ready? I want you to see the same presentation I saw without any understanding. Let me get it in front of you. You can ask me 15 questions. I'll answer all of them, but I'd rather do it after you saw the same information I saw, because once I saw it, it made sense to me. I don't want to mess it up for you. I'm going to, trust me, I'm going to get you in front of the presentation, because having a conversation won't be the best option. I tell them that. I literally say to them, here's what I've learned. Conversation before presentation leads to failure every time.
Oh, I like that.
Trust me a little. What was that?
I like that. Yeah.
Well, that's why you came. Man, I am dropping all kinds of bombs today, aren't I, Courtney?
You are.
Thanks for being here.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Last 5 minutes. Anybody have a question for me? This will be recorded. It is recorded. It will be distributed on the Freedom Team feed in Workplace. Don't forget, tomorrow we are doing a More Transactions Tuesday. We do it every week, but tomorrow it'll be one of my agent's former broker. He went from $7 million 3 years ago, his own personal production, to 35 million in his third or fourth year with us. Tomorrow he's going to talk about how to take advantage of our tax system. So it's a tax conversation. He's not a tax expert, but he is a real estate agent and broker expert from the taxes side. So a great training for tomorrow with Sean Corbett for anybody. I don't think there were questions. All of our attraction, right, in the chat box, it's there. Anybody have a question? Comment?
Eric, I do. Kate,
Go
here
ahead,
in
Kate.
Boulder. So Saturday I had a call back from a broker and I was kind of doing errands and kind of stuff around the house and chatting with her, and she had all kinds of questions, and I made that mistake, which was I just kept answering her questions. And then at the end of a 45-minute conversation, I said, let's get you onto a presentation. She said, no, thanks. And I thought, aha, this was a good learning experience for me. I do not want to EXP all over her. I want to get her into a presentation. I don't know enough, I don't want to be talking about it. So thank you for saying that. And it just reiterated in my mind that I am now carrying around a script in my pocket so that when I get a call back, I can go right to that and not try to talk myself.
Let me start by saying this. I'm glad you went through it. I'm glad you experienced it. It won't be the last time you experience it, but the next time you'll recognize it even earlier. Here's what I like to say to people. When they ask a question, I will always say, that's a really good question. I've heard that before. And here's what I'll tell you. 1,000 agents a week are moving to our company, and many of them had the exact same thing. They loved their broker. They wanted to know the split. So here's how I've learned, because I've become a little better at agent attraction. I tell them this, because I've become a little better at attracting agents by doing this. I'm going to answer your question, but then I'm going to say, let's set up a time for you to see a presentation. Okay. And the reason is because you're going to love all the answers and you're going to keep asking questions. So I want you to see this, Courtney. I want you to see this, Kate. I want you to see this, Rachel, the same way I did. And so here's the answer to your question. Our splits are 80-20%, but the agents that work with me, most of them end up at 100%. I'll show you how we do that during the presentation.
I like
When
that.
anybody asks me what our splits are, I always say, most of our agents are at an 80-20 split, but some of them enjoy 100%. I'll show you how we do that with our agents. I think you'll like it a lot.
That's excellent.
Cool. Let me handle something else, everybody else. Everybody will hear, oh, you know, I know an agent that went there. That's awesome. Lots of agents have come. So given that, you know, your volume, again, is ideal for one of our programs, let's get you in front of just ignore it and go right on to the next thing. They say to me, Gina, oh, you know, Todd Johnson, you know, showed me it a couple of years ago. That's awesome. Todd's awesome. Listen, lots of really good things have happened over the last couple of years. Let's get you in front of our 2023 presentation. Ignore it. Just acknowledge and ignore. Acknowledge and ignore. If it's a question they ask that you think that you need an answer, then say, look, I'm more than happy to answer that. But the best thing I want you to do is to see the presentation the way I saw it. So I'm going to answer this, but let's schedule a time for you to see the same thing and then answer it. Oh, I love my broker. That's awesome. He gets paid for what you do, so you better love your broker. But we love our brokers too. That shouldn't be a reason why you shouldn't look at something that 80,000 agents already come to. Anybody else have a final question or comment? Anybody?
Eric, I have a quick one, and you probably went through that because
Go
this is
ahead.
my first time. Do we do our own presentation, or do we use like Brent Gove's?
You can do whatever you would like.
Okay.
I will tell you this. If you want to get to a point where you're making real good money with agent attraction, it'll be better for you to be doing your own presentation because you'll learn more about what to say and how to say it by doing that, right? You won't have to rely on everybody else. Like learning what your lead does or learning what the broker does alleviates you having to go to them all the time. There are numerous presentations to use. Brent Gove's is one. Jeff Morrell did one that's equally as good. It's under More Money for Realtors. He just updated it. More Money for Realtors. The password is real estate. I'm sorry, it's moremoneyforrealtors.com. And the password is real estate, all one word, lowercase. I just finished doing one that's either 12 or 17 minutes long, depending on the version you like. You can go to my YouTube page and look at the 17-minute version if you want access to that. We do have that through CRM Grow. It's not publicly placed anywhere other than on my YouTube page. Okay, you're more than welcome to grab that link and send it. Okay?
Thank you.
My pleasure. Everybody, since we're bucking up against the 12 o'clock zone where I am, thank you so much for that. Kim, again, you and I do need to speak about tomorrow's training. And don't forget tomorrow, same time. And we will be back on Thursday, as always. Today's lesson, don't jump off yet. Today's training was this training topic. It was, see, not so hard after all. And the reason that was today's topic was this. I think you all realize this, that if you're thinking too much, you're working too hard. Rachel, Gina, Courtney, you're thinking too much. Don't worry about what they're thinking. Some of them will be thinking, oh, I'm glad she called. And some of them will think you're a pain in the butt because you called them at the wrong time. You can't control that. I promise you this, the ones that say yes will think of you for a long time. And the ones that say no will ignore you in an hour. Here's what you're supposed to say. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Yes. The only ones that matter are the ones that say yes, because here's the truth. Rachel, Courtney Indelible, and Gina, you're not trying to offend people. So don't go out of your way not to offend them. Here's why. you weaken your stance. Rachel, if I were you, I'll close with this. Here's what I would say. If I called someone I knew, like it was Courtney, I would say, Courtney, you've known me for a while. I'm a damn good agent. There's a reason why I came to EXP, and you may never come. But here's what I figured out. I made a mistake not asking you to look. I'm calling you back to rectify that mistake. I don't care if you come. Don't forget to say that. But I do care that you look. I think I've got a strong enough reputation that if I say to you, would you spend just 15, 20 minutes looking at what I think is worthy? I'd like you to say yes. I don't care if you come, but I think you should look. Rachel, that's the way you should treat the people that know you well. They're your friends. In fact, friends that you piss off because you call them and ask them to do something, right? Does that make sense? No. Here's the truth. They're not friends. They're peers. You're putting more faith in the relationship than you should. They're just professional real estate agents that presently are competitors, and you're trying to make them partners. Don't forget, that's what you're trying to do. They see EXP as competition, not you, the company. When they say no and they get mad at you, it's because they're mad at EXP. And what they're really mad at is they never looked at it to figure out why everybody's coming. Isn't that true? Yes or no? We only speak the truth here on Mondays and Thursdays. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Eric.